The hands of the Doomsday Clock once stood at 2 minutes to midnight. It wasn't a metaphor. It was a stark, scientific warning born from the dawn of the atomic age, tracking humanity's perilous dance with self-destruction. During the Cold War, this symbolic clock became a chilling barometer of global tensions, a constant, silent scream from the world's most brilliant minds. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists established the clock in 1947. Its creators, many of them involved in the Manhattan Project, felt a profound moral obligation. They understood the catastrophic power they had unleashed and feared its misuse. Midnight represented global catastrophe, specifically nuclear war. Initially, the clock was set at 7 minutes to midnight. This wasn't arbitrary. It reflected the nascent but growing nuclear arsenals of the United States and the Soviet Union, and the emerging ideological fault lines that would define the next 4 decades. The first major shift came in 1949. The Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb, Jo-1, shattering America's nuclear monopoly. The world, already grappling with post-war recovery, suddenly faced a terrifying new reality: 2 nuclear powers. The clock lurched to 3 minutes to midnight. This was the beginning of the nuclear arms race, a relentless, escalating competition to build more powerful and numerous weapons. The Bulletin's scientists weren't just observing, they were actively trying to warn leaders and the public about the existential dangers. In 1953, the United States tested its first thermonuclear device, Ivy Mike, a hydrogen bomb 500 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The Soviet Union quickly followed suit. The destructive potential of these new weapons was almost unimaginable. The Bulletin responded swiftly. The Doomsday Clock moved to an unprecedented 2 minutes to midnight. This was the closest it had ever been, reflecting the profound fear that an accidental launch or a miscalculation could trigger a global inferno at any moment. For years, the clock remained at this terrifying proximity to midnight. The 1950s and early 60s were fraught with crises: the Berlin blockade, the Korean War, the Suez Crisis. Each event held the potential to spiral into direct confrontation between the superpowers. Then came 1962 and the Cuban Missile Crisis. For 13 days in October, the world held its breath. Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba pointed directly at the U.S. mainland, American warships enforcing a blockade. It was the closest humanity has ever come to full-scale nuclear war. During those tense days, the Doomsday Clock's symbolic hands might as well have been seconds from midnight. The Bulletin didn't move the clock during the crisis itself, as its adjustments are meant to reflect long-term trends, but the event underscored the clock's dire warnings. A glimmer of hope emerged after the Cuban Missile Crisis. The realization of how close they'd come spurred a period of détente, a lessening of tensions. In 1963, the Partial Test Ban Treaty was signed, prohibiting nuclear weapons tests in the atmosphere, outer space, and underwater. This significant diplomatic breakthrough allowed the Bulletin to move the clock back. In 1963, it advanced to 12 minutes to midnight, signaling a cautiously optimistic assessment of the global situation. It was a rare moment of respite. Further progress in arms control, like the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1968, pushed the clock even further back to 10 minutes to midnight. The world seemed to be learning to live with the bomb, even if imperfectly. But this progress was often fragile. The Vietnam War, the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971, and the Arab-Israeli War of 1973 demonstrated that regional conflicts could still ignite global tensions, and the nuclear club was expanding. In 1974, India conducted its first nuclear test, codenamed Smiling Buddha. This proliferation of nuclear weapons capabilities to new nations again shifted the dynamics. The clock moved forward to 9 minutes to midnight. The late 1970s saw a renewed chill in East-West relations. President Reagan's tough stance against the evil empire, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and the boycott of the Moscow Olympics all contributed to a darkening mood. The arms race accelerated once more. Both sides deployed new generations of intermediate-range nuclear missiles in Europe, leading to massive protests and a sense that another doomsday scenario was looming. The clock advanced to 4 minutes to midnight in 1981. The early 1980s were arguably as dangerous as the Cuban Missile Crisis. False alarms due to technical glitches or misinterpretations of radar signals nearly triggered retaliatory strikes on multiple occasions. The world was truly on a hair trigger. In 1984, the bulletin moved the clock back to 3 minutes to midnight, reflecting the deeply strained relations and the lack of communication channels. It was a return to the terrifying proximity of the early Cold War. Yet a remarkable shift was on the horizon. The rise of Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union and his commitment to glasnost and perestroika ushered in a new era of dialogue with the West. Summits between Gorbachev and Reagan began to yield results. The Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces (INF) Treaty in 1987 was a landmark agreement, eliminating an entire class of nuclear weapons. It was a tangible step back from the brink. The clock responded, moving to 6 minutes to midnight in 1988. Then came the unimaginable, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. The Cold War, which had dominated global politics for half a century, was over. The nuclear threat, though not gone, seemed significantly diminished. In 1991, the Doomsday Clock was set to 17 minutes to midnight, its furthest ever. It was a moment of profound relief, a testament to diplomacy and the will to avoid catastrophe. The world had, for a time, pulled itself back from the edge. The Doomsday Clock's journey through the Cold War offers a unique lens into humanity's struggle with its own destructive capabilities, a potent reminder of how close we once came to losing everything. It's a story of fear, brinkmanship, and ultimately, the fragile power of human cooperation. Explore the secret histories of the Cold War's most daring spies in our next video.